Hello, 9 to 5ers. I'm Elizabeth Ajadi. Welcome to another episode of 9 to 5 and everything in between. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the power of people building connections for work and life. And the guests that we have in the studio with us today is Folarin Fowora. Super excited to have you on the
Happy to be here.
on the podcast. Thank you, thank you. If you have not already, please subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube for the visual recording. Folarin is my cousin. He's one of those family friends that you grew up with, and then suddenly you guys, you're no longer friends. Your relationship has evolved beyond friends. That's the right word. And so we call ourselves cousins now because, that's how can you even explain it?
Right.
Years of relationship. So it's, when I was thinking about this topic today, I was like, who can I have on as a guest? And it was very last minute. And I said, Fulani, we have to do this. You're literally the most people connector that I know. And I, I had to have him on the episode as a way of introduction, just to tell you a bit about Folarin. He works in customer success, has years of experience really helping people find solutions in various sectors. He's worked in financial sector for the most part and done a lot of work in MCing. He's a fashion illustrator. He's a singer-songwriter. He literally has the voice of an angel. He's a makeup artist, he's a writer, and he's just an all-around creative, and I just love him.
I love you too. I do.
So excited. So this episode is not one of those very serious ones because between both of us, there's just too many bands.
Serious banter. Amen.
To go around. And so while I've done the introduction, Folarin, please, I want you to please introduce yourself to the audience. And once you've done that, I want you to emphasize a little bit about today's topic. What is the power of people? What does it mean to you?
Absolutely. First and foremostly, that was an introduction. I need to come here more. But no, my name is Folarin. Steve, middle name, last name Fowora. I am a all-round creative, just like you rightly said. I do a lot. And in the past, that has been a difficult thing to identify with, but I identify with it now. And I'm grateful that I'm able to do a lot in that capacity. And the fact that most of my things happen to be creative, that plays a lot into the topic that we're talking about today, which is people. Because creativity happens, yes, it can happen, in isolation, but at the same time, it blossoms with people. And so the power of people to me is exactly that. People. Do you see what I'm saying? People are creative. People are compassionate. People are smart. People are kind. People connect. And so I recognize that because you see how the ability to be multiple things to multiple people.
Woo.
And that being something that I have, but that other people have too, it's appreciated in our shared existence for me. And so, yeah.
That sounds very profound. Wow.
Thank God.
I couldn't have said it any better. One thing I always say is that people are my life's superpower. In every area of my life, in every chapter of my life that I've had, people have been the greatest assets that I can ever rely on. People have added so much value to my life that I would not be where I am today if not for people.
Complete.
That's correct, yes. in every area of my life, and so I appreciate people a great deal. Relationships matter to me. And, you know, to the audience, to the listeners today, I think that's the essence of what we're trying to talk about today is like, you need to value people. You need to value the people that come into your life. You need to value the relationships that you make. And then, lastly, you need to be intentional about those relationships that you make. So maybe that's even the first one. You know, be intentional about the people that you allow into your life.
Valid.
And then once they're in there, be intentional about how you maintain that relationship.
Valid.
That's all leads me into my next question. You know, because you've defined the power of people and what it means to you. And so how do you go out there? Because like I think a lot of the things that today's generation struggles with is building relationships, finding those connections. You know, we're in the era of online dating, we're in the era of online networking, you know, online application. I know a few decades ago people had to walk into a building to go submit an application. Now you have to apply online.
Right,
you know,
and
there's
hope for the
almost
best.
no face-to-face interaction
True.
at the beginning of anything anymore, and so we have to learn how to build relationships virtually for the most part. And so how do you build relationships and how do you maintain them?
I appreciate that question. And this first thing that I'm going to say is very on the nose, so permit me. But you know how they say charity begins at home? I wanted to touch on that from what you were saying last, which is yes, as much as we're building new relationships, there also happens to be existing relationships that we didn't have to build.
Whoa.
You see what I'm saying?
Your family.
Hello. Okay. And so we have to value those relationships, but that's the first place that we learn just connection, human connection.
That is true.
You see what I'm saying? And so I feel like a lot of how we present ourselves outside or how we go about establishing new relationships stems from how we maintain and exist in the familial space. Apart from acquaintances or like people that you just meet in passing that you have small talk with, if you have identified a person that has drawn you in with whatever aspect of them that has attracted you to them, I feel like you should build on that curiosity in approaching them. So you're not just going for, oh, the weather's nice. What game did you watch last weekend? No. So for example, my best friend, David, I met him in uni.
Okay.
At the time, he was I would say like the best singer, or at least one of the best in school. And I'd heard about him and I wanted to get better. The exposure to music that I had prior to that was, for lack of a better word, limited.
Okay.
My family did love music, so I'd heard like a bit of country music and you know some of the greats, R&B, pop, and all of that. But there's this thing about just vocal control that David had.
He does have that,
Come
actually.
on,
I know David.
She does. She does. And so he could blow, and I'm just like, I need to meet this guy.
Yeah.
Right? And as much as I wanted to, he wasn't an easy person to reach because he was in the executive board on both choirs. The school's most popular choir and then the choir that I happen to be a part of. And so there wasn't like anything, like, yeah, there was something that connected us, but it wasn't like that direct link that I was hoping to have. And a friend of mine who was in that other choir, the more popular one that the school recognized, we entered school at the same time. He's like, I want you to meet someone. Apparently they had both gone to the high school of that our university. And so he's like, let's go. And so he took me to David's room. Now, in terms of curiosity, when I got into that space, not only did I ask the questions that were pointed to where I was coming from as somebody who wanted to learn from him.
Yeah.
I wanted to know who he was, what shaped his experience to get to where he was.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And so in having those conversations, he took a liking to it because, fun fact, people like to talk. People like to talk about themselves. That's a given.
This is true.
You know what I'm saying? So if you get someone engaged, half the time they will share.
Yeah.
And in that, a rapport was built. we didn't become friends immediately. It was more of a teacher student type of thing.
Right.
Oh, and he was iron-handed. But from there, with increased exposure, with spending time, because of how I held him, I myself felt the need to put in work so that the effort that he was putting into training me did not go wasted.
Right.
And so he started getting like more confident in my abilities, to where if a new song came in and he was supposed to suggest someone to lead it, guess who? Me. And that's how the relationship fostered. And so curiosity, intention, I feel like play a big part in how we should go about establishing new connections.
One thing that resonated with me in what you said is that I often talk about studying abroad when I was in college, and I spent time in South Korea. When I went there, I obviously did not know anybody.
Right.
However, in that journey, I met a lot of amazing people, and it's been 9 years. Gosh, 9 years. And I still have a very deep connection with a few of the people that I studied with. So while there, I met like minded people. We hung out a ton, people from different countries. And to date, we still find a way to keep the connection going. We schedule Zoom calls, we go on trips together. We all live in different countries on different continents, and we still somehow make it work. On my phone, I have all of their time zones
Okay, now.
on my clock, and when we need to schedule a call, I literally go and look at it to see, okay, what time works best, and just to make sure we can accommodate everybody. And that's one way that I've been able to maintain that relationship. And
Exactly.
I would say that that's I think it's just one of my personal superpowers, to be honest, to be able to be a people connector and to keep relationships alive, because I thrive with people. I thrive with quality relationship. Quality time is one of my love languages, my toppest love language. And so because of that, I like to spend quality time with my friends and family. And Fola and I, we have the same relationship. We have the same experience in that we have lived abroad. We relocated to this country. We're immigrants. We have lived in different places. And so because of that, I think we hold relationships dear.
Yeah.
Because chances are maybe work will take you to another state, another country, but you still find a way to make it work, regardless of where you're physically located.
Yeah.
And so for people who are struggling because you think, okay, I'm here, my friends are on this other state, like, you can make it work. I have FaceTime calls with my friends every other day, phone calls, text messages, group texts, different types of mediums to maintain and keep the relationship burning. It won't just grow itself or maintain itself. Not to belabor the point, speaking of work relationships, I wanted to talk about something real quick. With work relationships, sometimes we find it really hard to connect with people, connect with colleagues.
Yep.
That is sometimes very difficult, because there's this fine balance between, I want to connect with people, but that means opening up and sharing with people. That means allowing them to see me, the full me. And
Office you versus.
there's definitely Office Elizabeth, and there's like outside Elizabeth.
Bet.
There's Office Elizabeth, then there's Abiola outside.
Come on now. That's right.
And so it's that fine balance between sharing but not sharing too much. And we also come from a culture where people don't share.
Don't do it.
Nigerians don't share. Like, we were raised not to share. Like, you're going on a trip, you don't even tell your immediate family that you're going on a trip until you get there.
Okay.
So for us, it feels like it's just natural to not share personal information with people. And so at work, we would often struggle, especially as immigrants, now from the immigrant perspective, you would struggle with connecting with people, because all you're going to talk about is, how was your day? Did you have a good weekend? Even that, you don't even want to share what you did.
True.
So it leaves you with this half-baked relationships that you're not maintaining. So like at work, how do you balance that where you're not necessarily sharing every detail of your life, but you're at least trying to connect with people meaningfully?
Right. I would say a big part of that for me has been making the our middle ground or our common ground the core of our relationship. In the sense that while I worked at RH as a customer experience associate, I didn't know that until I took the job, but we were literally the glue of the entire organization. And so it wasn't just, oh, hello, this is what you need and we're done. It is, this is what you need and we're going to pull everybody in to make that happen. And so what was helpful was because we all worked common goal, we wanted to satisfy our customers, but we all worked different angles of the business. It helped to be curious about what their experience was in their, while we're doing this thing that we're all doing together, how is it for you? How is it as a delivery associate? What issues are you running into? And so we built relationships off of that because we're in this space together. We have shared commonalities, I guess. And so that was it at work.
Yeah, this is actually very true because, like, for instance, for me personally at work, I've been able to connect with people based on shared interests. So, like, I have a colleague who loves to travel as much as I do, and for the most part, we talk about travel and travel only. Sometimes we talk about relationships and dating woes and whatnot, but like for the most part, we talk about travel. Like, what was your last trip? What did you do? How was it? Show me pictures. I want to see videos. I want to see content you created. I want to see everything. And then I would tell her about my upcoming trip, the plans that I have, my scheduling, and everything. And we have such a great connection based off of that.
Facts.
And because of that, she's somebody that I would consider a friend at work. So if you're listening to this, hi Michaela. She's somebody I would consider a friend at work because we have that shared interest.
Right.
And there's just somebody that I connect with just based on cultural interest and cultural affiliation. And so because of that, we just feel comfortable just talking about everything.
Nigerian?
Not sort of actually.
Okay.
They have the blood.
But they have them.
I mean, 1, 2, 3 and me, or what is that thing? Ancestry.
There we go. Yeah. Sorry. All right.
They have the blood in them for
Okay.
sure there. And we vibe a lot. At first, they thought I was standoffish. Somebody thought I was standoffish. But it's because I come off cold when I don't know people or when I'm trying to feel the space or trying to understand what's the vibe in this place.
Fair enough to be cautious.
And then once I observe, like I take some time to observe and I'm like, okay, who do you talk to? Who do you not talk to? Who do you share with? Who do you not share with? Because, office gossip is like crazy. And so because of that, I'm very careful to understand alliances and understand people, relationships that exist before I try to insert myself or at least start to then build relationships. But then he and I, we connect greatly, and he's also somebody that I would consider a friend at work. Going back to my initial question about like for people who find it difficult to connect with people, how can I connect with people in this day and age? For instance, think about it for a young professional or mid-level professional who had to move from say Cleveland to Boston for a job. I don't know anybody. How do I connect with people?
You highlighted something earlier where you were like, people are connecting online. A lot of applications are happening online. Like a lot of things are happening virtually now.
Yeah.
As a result of that, we also need to recognize that technology has made those things available to us.
This is correct.
You see what I'm saying? And it's our friend. Yes, there are parts of it that may not be so delicious, but it's here to make our lives easier. We can leverage the value or benefits that technology gives us to establish those connections.
But from a more formal perspective, I think places that you can meet people through networking events, especially here at Cleveland. For instance, there's an organization called Engage Cleveland. I'm on the leadership council of Engage Cleveland, and for the most part, we do a lot of events that are targeted towards Clevelanders, young, mid-level Clevelanders, mostly young professionals, but mid-level as well. And then they also offer events, they all plan events that target transplants, people that move from outside, outstate, out of country, whatever the case is, so that you can meet other young professionals. And I'm sure there's, similar organizations in different states with inside the US and even abroad as well. I know we have listeners abroad. And so you can find organizations like that plan events that are intended for networking, for connecting. Another place that I say is church.
I was about the spirits, indeed.
Yeah, the church. We're Christians, and for me and for us, really, when we moved to Cleveland 11, for me 11, for him 9 years ago, one of the places where we found a family here in Cleveland is our church.
True.
A lot of people that we've met, a lot of people that are still my friends, are people that I met through church.
Sure.
Literally, my auntie that hosts Thanksgiving every year for the past 11 years is from church. She's my church auntie, and we found a good family, a community there. Another place that I know people meet people are the gym.
The gym.
I
can't speak to that. I'm a little chunky over here, but
chunky where? Please stop deceiving people.
No, I do like my sweets though. I like my cakes, cookies, and that.
Yeah. Oh, did I say he likes to cook as well? He bakes and all of that.
Just a little 1, 2, 1, 2.
All around creative, I swear. These days, people can meet people. You just have to be very intentional about how you go about making the relationships, making those connections.
Right.
So, I want to touch on something that we've talked about this. We've talked about maintaining, building the connection, maintaining it. But what is the place of authenticity in building connections?
So, in my opinion, you cannot, and this is just, I feel like low-key, just a fact, you can't exist as anybody other than yourself. First and foremost.
Speak.
And so, in the same vein, when presenting or approaching a new connection, you can't come as anybody other than yourself.
Mic drop. You cannot show up as anybody other than yourself. That's the quote of the day.
Glory.
That's the quote of the day. Sometimes, how we know how to code switch? We can do that because we've learned to do it. But it doesn't change the fact that Elizabeth is Elizabeth. Amen. Even if at work I show up as Elizabeth and outside I show up as Abiola, it's still the same me.
You get the same person.
Just and if you try me a bit too much at work, you're going to get Abiola.
Okay.
I've been in meetings with some people at work where I'm like, can I be Nigerian for a little bit?
Stop.
I swear.
That's a good disclaimer. That's a good, what you're about to get is the real stuff.
That's happened because somebody asked me for feedback once and I said, I can give you the sweets and nice, but do you want to hear the real?
Okay.
And they went, yeah, they do. Because this was a leader. So it was, I was giving a 360-degree skip level feedback, and we're having a 360 at the end of, we finished working together. And so he had given me feedback and he asked for it. Yeah. And so I said, can I be Nigerian real quick? And he's like, yeah, hit me with it. And so I just went in. Come on. And he's laughing because he knows me.
I do.
When I go in, I go all the way in. I don't have any middle ground. My voice even starts to change. I start to sound very Yoruba, like a Yoruba queen that I am. One thing I do want to touch on that an acquaintance of mine always says is don't be transactional.
Amen.
You're being authentic, you're being you're showing up as yourself. But in the place of relationship building, you cannot afford to be transactional. don't go in for what you can get out of it.
Come on.
Don't go and build it just because of what you can get out of it. Because the person you know today has like, oh, the gate man today can become the CEO tomorrow. And so you need to treat people well. You need to treat people with value. You need to treat people with respect.
Yes.
But then also you need to know that anybody can be a helping hand. Anybody literally can be a helping hand. You know, you're late for an interview, but the gate man is like, no, you can't go in. But then it tells everybody else that's like, okay, I'm just here. They're like, he's like, they can't go in. But you get there and you're like, oh, good afternoon, da da da. How are you doing? How's your day been? I'm here for this. How's da da da. You know, you talk about the weather, you talk about everything that you can. How's your family? This person's like, you know what? I would like this person to be my colleague in this place, in this working place, and they walk you in. Why? Not because they're being partial, but because you've treated them with respect.
Come on.
You know, in our language, they say something around Fowora. It means the body wants respect.
Yes.
That's the literal translation. And so you have to respect everybody, and you can't go in because, okay, I'm gonna get something out of it. Sometimes in some relationships you're not going to get anything out of it, and that is fine.
That is fine.
That is fine. So one of the last few questions that I have is like, how do you leverage the power of people to ensure that your social capital is working for you? Because, you know, I just talked about not being transactional, but at the same time, the relationships that we're building is social capital for us. Whether we like it or not, the relationships that we build are the things that would help us, that would open doors for us. A recruiter that you met 3 years ago and you say happy birthday to every year might just have a job opening for you. You know, and so that's social capital. And so how do we leverage the social capital that we're building?
Absolutely.
But also not being transactional.
No, I love that. And just to quickly touch on what you had said.
Yeah.
As you were describing that gateman scenario, it brought back to mind a word that I came across, which I didn't know there was a word for that thing. It was called sonder.
Huh.
Right? Sonder is the realization that everybody else in this life that is doing life has a life that is just as intricate, as deep, as detailed as your own. They have their own issues, familial baggage, trauma, whatnot. Do you see what I'm saying? And so, just to quickly just highlight on that your point, we need to see people as people, just as much as we want to be seen. And so, to answer the question that you just asked, do you want to others what you want others to do unto you?
Fact.
You know, you have days where you're the one that someone leans on. You're going to have a day when you're going to need someone to lean on. Being the type of person you would want to have when it's your turn to the people that are important to you, the people that you value, I think, you know, is how we can leverage those things. Not to say that you're now doing it because so that they meet. No, you know, genuinely.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important because, I mean, the thing is when you value people, whether you know that they're going to be able to do something for you in the future or not, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
You will show up for them today. Irregardless of if there's anything that you can get out of it.
True.
And so, you know, with that in mind, I think you will be able to leverage social capital naturally. It would just happen holistically.
Truly.
You know, there's a lot of connections that I make over the years. You know, we chit chat here and there, we catch up, and then maybe I just happen to maybe need a referral, need a recommendation to something, or even somebody that I know could be useful to them. I call myself a people connector. I find that I have information, and a lot of people, when they need something, I just happen to know somebody that knows somebody or a resource to get that information or to get that thing sorted out for the person or for people. So because of that, I value people and I value relationships. You know, to close out, I wanted to just wrap us up with, you know, how can you bring value to people as a person as an individual.
Absolutely. And sorry to backtrack us just a little bit, but just in the space of leveraging our social capital, I just realized another thing that's important is talk. Please talk. It's okay to share sometimes. I don't say spill your guts or TMI a person down. No, share. Because when people know certain things about you, when you're not there, they can refer you.
This is to the Nigerian listening to this. No one is going to hold your destiny. Amen. If you share.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are evil people, obviously. Yep. But then, I cannot help you if I don't know that you're going through a situation. I cannot help you if I don't know that you need the information. In fact, I will just be looking because unless I know about it, I'm not going to poke my nose into it.
Exactly.
I'm not nosy. I'm not a nosy person.
And if you don't know that they have a skill, you won't be able to refer them to somebody that can employ them.
Thank you.
Do you see what I'm saying? And so talk about your passions, talk about your interests, talk about the things that you're working on. And from there, sometimes people hear things, people link things. Your social capital will capitalize.
Well, I mean, so speaking on that, subscribe to 9 to 5 and everything
Please,
in between.
Like, subscribe, comment, share, do it all.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is me selling my business.
Okay,
and
now.
telling you what I'm about.
Okay.
And if you have any speaking engagements, you know where to find me.
She's your girl.
Elizabeth at the 9to5blueprint.com is my email. Thank you. So I love that. I love that. You know, you have to share what you're doing. You have to share what you need. You have to tell people. You have to open up. You have to, and because of that, to do that, build community. You have to have people to share that with, right? Yep. You're not just talking into the atmosphere. True. Sometimes you actually talk into the atmosphere. Amen. One thing that I want to close us out, as an example to that, my community manager and social media manager, Yemi, who is behind the scenes and manages all the socials, I found her through Instagram.
Come on.
She made a post 4 years ago about needing projects. She's a creative writer. She does editing. She does all these things. If you have any projects for me, please, reach out. And then her friend, who is a mutual friend, reposted that to her Instagram story.
That's it.
And then I saw it. And at that time, I needed somebody desperately to manage the social media for the 9 to 5 Blueprint. And I DM'd her directly. I did not even reach out to the friend. I reached out to her directly. And to date, she's employed with the 9 to 5 Blueprint.
There we go.
And has been doing amazing work. So shout out to Yemi and all the amazing work that you do with 9 to 5.
Thank you.
But this brings us to the close.
That's it.
Of this. I've genuinely enjoyed this conversation.
Here. It's always great time talking with you.
Of course. I mean, we do this all the time, even when we're not recording, when the cameras are off.
On the phone, FaceTime, Instagram, all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I have. I feel like I say that with every episode, but I genuinely enjoy the guests that have come on board, and Folarin, obviously his family, and appreciate him. So
thank you for having me.
To shout him out, follow him, Falaflo on Instagram, follow Faces by Fola for his makeup stuff. He's just amazing, all around amazing human being. If you need an MC for your event, know where to find him. I'm going to share his email on the screen in the caption so that you can reach out to him. If you need a singer-songwriter, you know what? To close us out, I want to put you on the spot. Can you give us some vocal serenade on here?
Let's see. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long. You're gonna need somebody to lean on.
That was so amazing. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Again, now we're done. This conversation has been amazing. And that is Folarin Fowora, great vocalist.
Thank you.
So go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube. subscribe, and follow us for information on the socials at the 9 to 5 Blueprint, or on the website www.the9to5blueprint.com for any information about upcoming episodes. Till next time, see you. Don't forget, you're the architect of your journey. Take charge of your life. See you on the next one. Bye.